Welcome back. If you are returning, I dropped my first Love Island All Stars review last night. If you have not watched it, go watch it before you watch this one. But if you did watch it and you returned, thank you so much for returning. I'm going to be here all season, so I hope I continue to gain more of y'all. Um, and stay this out with me because I'm going to do it because this season is starting to look quite interesting. I was nervous because I was like, I hope it's going to be good, and I was contemplating at first if I wanted to do it for real, for real. I said I was going to do it, but I was contemplating as we got closer. But I don't want to do like I did with Love Island Games and get halfway through it and be regretting not actually doing it. But I'm here now. We are going to tackle episode 2. We got a lot of interesting things starting to happen, so we're going to get into it. But if you are new here, please just give me a thumbs up if you like what you hear. Please drop a comment. I love talking to y'all. Please drop your comments on your thoughts on the episode, what my thoughts were. And if you are new here, subscribe. I'm trying to continue to grab some new Love Island fans. I want to bring a new audience to this channel as well. But yeah, enough about that. Let's go ahead and get on into it. All right, so we get back from the cliffhanger from last night's episode where Callum is now deciding if he wants to break up one of the couples or if he wants to choose Molly, his ex-girlfriend of 3 years that he just got out of a relationship with for 6 months, or at least he's been recently single for 6 months. And what happens? Callum decides to go to Molly, and I was not expecting that. But when you look at her, when he did it, she didn't look too pleased about it. He's excited, according to him. She says she's happy, but she's not sure. And I'm like, it's clear that you are not happy about that, or at least you don't seem to be happy. But we'll see what happens later on. But Callum said that he went for Molly because it was fresh, and he thought that they left on good terms. He feels like essentially they might possibly be able to rekindle. They might possibly still have a spark. That's what I gathered from what he said when Maya had asked him. And he said they have conversations that need to be had. Molly agrees. She said stuff left, the stuff that they had, because they did leave on good terms, but there was stuff that happened that has her feeling a little bit like, I don't know about you. She said things could have been dealt a little bit differently. So it's going to be exciting to see how this all turns out. But Maya said it's spin the block season, and it definitely is spin the block season. And Mitch is eating it up. Like, he's eating up the fact that that just happened. And then we got Jake and Liberty who are paired together. So it's a lot of exes getting paired together. So it's quite interesting. It's quite messy. So Maya lets them know 5 weeks. They're going to be here for 5 weeks. I'm going to be here for 5 weeks. They got 5 weeks to take home to, I think, 50,000 pounds. I don't know how much that is in US dollars, but that's 50,000 pounds for them out there in the UK. For the top couple, which we all know at the end of the time in the Love Island villa, the public votes for their favorite couple to win the money. So Maya ends up leaving. Molly and Callum go ahead and disperse with the boys and the girls. They start to meet, or at least, I guess, reconnect with some of the ones that they didn't already know, but meet some of the new ones. So they're all doing that as we all normally see happen on these shows. Callum is pretty much telling all the boys, like, nothing bad happened. They were just, like, clashing. Like, they just were not agreeing on certain things, which is why they ended up breaking up. And Molly's over there telling the girls pretty much the same thing. Like, they agreed that they wanted to go separate ways. She said that they just were not gelling. And then she said after 2 weeks, like 2 weeks after their breakup, apparently he was doing some disrespectful shit. She didn't really elaborate on what it was, but she said that he apologized, and she ends up getting videos and like receipts of certain things that he was doing, which I hope she elaborates on later on because we didn't really get too much of that today in this episode. So she said that actions are really going to have to speak. Like, that's what's going to tell her if she wants to possibly spin the block and go back, give him another chance. So, Georgia Harrison, she's pretty much asking, like, if it'd be weird if she sees him kissing other people. And she's like, I mean, I don't know. We got to see. So the next scene, we get Demi and Chris. Apparently Chris has slid into her DMs prior to being on the show. He said that she's pretty, and she's still sitting there giggling. Like, you can tell she's got a real connection with him. She's happy that she's with him. It's quite interesting to see later on, though. But they agreed that the public made the right decision choosing them two to be together, so they're excited to explore whatever they might possibly have. Demi's talking about how she loves to cuddle. She said her love language is physical touch. Chris's love language is gift giving. Like, he likes to be a giver. So it's going to be quite interesting to see how that ends up turning out. Hannah and Anton. Anton understands the public pretty much voting them together because his history, he likes blondes, so that makes sense for him. Hannah says he's nice. These two are probably the two most. I say to me, these two are the least interesting for me. We'll see if that changes, but these two are essentially the boring two, the boring boy and the boring girl of the cast so far for me. But we get to Georgia Steele. Georgia Steele, she's telling Toby like when they were up there, she looked at him and she wanted him at that point. She said he was looking good. So she's happy that they're together, and he's sitting there laughing as she's saying that because, of course, who wouldn't be laughing and smiling like when she's sitting here telling you that you look good? And Toby's happy about it. He's happy that they got paired together, but he told her that she can talk to Anton if she wants to. And she said that the conversation was really good with Anton, but she's gravitating more towards Toby. And I'm like, it's interesting that he told her that she can go talk to him because we'll see if she actually does end up talking to him and if he starts feeling the type of way. Because my thing is, don't tell somebody to do something if you don't want them to do it. And then when they do it, you get mad at them. And the same thing could be said with her too, but we'll see. But she's gravitating towards Toby. So we'll see if that continues to stay as what it is. Mitch and Kaz. Mitch loves her personality. Kaz says that they get on really well as mates. And it's funny how I got a lot of their lingo in here now. So it'll be quite interesting to see by the end of the season if I literally am saying their lingo without realizing that I am. But they're just cool with being friends. They're wanting to get to know other people. Mitch says that he does want to get to know Liberty, but he also wants to get to know other girls as well, which he should. Like, you shouldn't put all your eggs in one basket on the first day. At least, especially the first week, too. Like, y'all are there, and they've done this show before, so they should already know the format. You don't put all your eggs in one basket. And like I said, they're cool with being friends. That's pretty much what it is, a friend vibe with them. So the next scene we get Harrison, and as I told y'all, if y'all didn't see last week, I'm going to start calling Harrison and Steele because it's two Georgias, and I'm just start calling them by their last name. But Harrison and Lewis, they are sitting there talking, and she's pretty much saying that Chris and Mitch are her type because they're funny and they're laid back. And she said Lewis seems to be the same way, and they just start talking about pistachios and shit. And Lewis, Hannah says Harrison says that she doesn't really feel any type of connection with Lewis. And I'm like, I'm glad you said it because I don't. I don't see it for y'all. Like, them two, it's like they just got paired together, I guess, off of physicality. I guess that's what the public was looking at. But, the two of them have no chemistry at all. I don't even think they have, a friendly chemistry at all either. But Anton's asking Callum, why did you choose Molly? And he said it's still fresh with our relationship. And they didn't have, what they said earlier, they didn't really have a real fallout with their breakup. And like he said, they just weren't getting along, but he wants to see if they could actually fix it. So Callum is also saying that she came up saying that it's just not going to work. And she wanted to explore other people. And she wouldn't have any issue with that. So Liberty is also talking to Hannah. And she feels like Jake has been avoiding her. And she wants to have that conversation just to get it out of the way because they are going to have to sleep together at the end of the night because they're in a couple. And when you're in a couple on the show, you end up sharing the same bed. So Hannah's like, go do it now. So they ended up walking together. And it was funny because they kind of walked and planned a split so she could keep walking that way so it don't look too obvious. But it looked so obvious because Jake was watching the whole time. And as he was watching them walk over, he looked nervous. But Liberty pretty much lets him know, I feel like you've been avoiding me. And he says he didn't intend it to be that way because she's a fun person. He enjoys being around her. There's no bad blood. And they just pretty much come to that agreement. There's no bad blood. It's just not going to work out between them two as a romantic connection anymore. And they just hope that they can end this experience as friends. And they're open to doing that, going out as friends. So they're at peace at this point. They've had their conversation to where it's no longer awkward, so they can just move on as friends. Steele is talking to Anton and pretty much telling him the door is not closed. It's day one. She's not closed off to Toby. She's not trying to close off. And he said his connection with Hannah is really not much besides friends. He's like, she's cool, but I don't see it. And I'm like, yeah, I don't see it with y'all either, honestly. But I'm happy that Steele is saying that too, that she's not closing the door because as she said, that's pretty much what her history is locking in on one person. So you don't you don't lock in on one person the first couple days or at least the first couple weeks, honestly. So we also get her saying that she also wants to explore the relationship with Anton, or at least the connection with Anton, but she still is happy to be with Toby. We get Molly and Callum. They finally sit down. They sit down, and he's asking her how it felt, like how she felt walking in, and she thought she was gonna be the only bombshell, and then she ended up seeing the back of his head, like, oh shit, so he is too, I guess. And Callum was pretty much talking about how they got to talk about how she felt leaving the relationship, and she said, like, I don't know why you asking me because you know how I felt about the relationship. That's kind of the energy that she was giving. And she said that he was like kind of cold and kind of just cut it off immediately. And he said the reason why he did that, he said he felt like the most logical thing to do was to cut it off and like cut the communication off to kind of like give each other like their own personal space. And I feel like in that instance, if it comes from a bad blood situation, I can understand that. But considering the fact that they both saying that they left on good terms, the like cutting off connections, I'm like, okay, I'm not following where you're going with this. But I'm trying to hear his perspective. And he said like she said that she felt like he didn't have that same level of respect for her anymore, and he apologized for it. Molly said like after 3 years, you should know what you really want, and she's talking about when he came back and chose her. So she's like that kind of threw her for a loop because it's like you want to go back down this road again. Like you should already know if you really want to be with me, especially after the fact that we just literally broken up 6 months ago after a 3 year long relationship and you end up picking me again. So that was kind of confusing to her. But they start bantering and stuff, a little bit of flirtation going on. She ends up talking about how she's cooking and stuff, and then he says that he loves her omelets, and that's like one of the only things that she was ever good at. And he said, like, he's like, I'm joking. But the way he said, I was like, damn, like, you really saying that now? Like, that's the only thing she's good at, because that's how she looked, too. She's like, wait, what the fuck are you, wait, is that really what you said? But he was joking, and she didn't take it too serious, so that was good. But they all head off to bed. The next day, they all get up. You know how they do. They got to get up in the morning. They have their little conversations while they're laying in the bed. They get ready to go out for the rest of the day. So Lewis is pretty much talking about how there's a vibe with Harrison, but he just don't know. So he's catching a vibe, and she clearly ain't catching it with him. Like, or at least in this moment, I'm trying to give him the benefit of the doubt of him saying that he's catching a vibe. But later on, we see Lewis, like he said in the last episode, that he's no longer a player. To me, he's giving that he's still a player, but we'll get to it. But he said that he's also looking at Molly. Molly is she's a hot topic, and she's a hot choice. A lot of these guys are looking at Molly, and I don't blame them. She's cute. Like, she's a very cute girl. But Anton also is feeling Molly and said that he wouldn't be true to himself if he did not pursue that. So he's going to be trying to pursue her as well. So Harrison is asking Demi, like, and she's sitting there with Georgia Steele. She's sitting there saying, like, how are you and Chris getting on? Like, what's the relationship? What's the connection going on? And Demi says that they're good. Like, she got to cuddle with him or whatever. She ends up leaving. And when she leaves, Georgia Steele asks Harrison, like, let me ask you, did you really ask her that because you really cared, or did you ask her that because you still feeling Chris? Harrison tries to play it off like she ain't really feeling him, and she said that she thinks Mitch is cute too, and she's actually looking forward to getting to know him. And I'm like, she's just trying to play that off, trying to act like she ain't a simp, but that's exactly what she did. She asked her that question to know if she can actually slide on in without having an issue. But we get Callum talking, pretty much saying that he's going to chat with Molly again because he isn't going to be with her if he doesn't feel like there's going to be something going on. Like he said, he doesn't want to be attached to her if it's for nothing, which I agree. That's the way it should be. Like, you need to have the conversation, see if there is an opportunity for y'all to rekindle. If not, go ahead and split and go your separate ways and see what can go down with other people in the house. So Molly's talking to Liberty, Kaz, and Demi, and they're pretty much telling her not to close herself off because her ex is there. And she's pretty much saying the same thing, like, yeah, I'm cool with that. Like, I'm not trying to close myself off with him. And they telling her, get sexy, put on your nice little outfits, and get to talking. Like, go out there and do it. So Molly ends up pulling Lewis. She does exactly what they tell her to do. So she pulls Lewis. They're sitting there talking about how they're there to get to know other people, and they're talking about their connections that they've started to build with certain people. But Lewis pretty much tells her without really, like, flat out really telling her that he's interested in her. She's catching it a little bit, and they start flirting a little bit. She said, like, she's doing all the work because she just pulled him, and she wants to know who's going to start applying pressure. Because that's the thing with a lot of these dudes on this season. None of them are really applying pressure so far. That's what I'm noticing. So the girls are noticing that too, because they're like, why are they not coming and getting us and pulling us for chats? So that's what she's telling him. You got to put in some work. Like, if you really want it, you got to put in some work. Don't tell me you're not putting in work because my ex is here. And he was like, don't try that. Like, don't do that. I'm not doing that because of that. And she said she ain't used to flirt because it's been so long since she's been out of a relationship. She's been all locked in with Callum for 3 years. But she's getting good vibes off of Lewis. Next, we get Kaz. Kaz is going to pull Lewis as well. Lewis is pretty much like the male Molly. Like, he's got a lot of people pulling him too. Kaz said that she should have stepped for him, but she just could not read his energy. She didn't know how he was feeling. And he said it was nice to know that she wanted to pick him. And he said that the girls got more balls than the dudes in the house because they actually pulling everybody. And it's like, yeah, y'all need to step up, step up. But Lewis said he wants to find his one in the house. So we'll see if that actually happens. Mitch and Liberty, they're pretty much talking about taking it slow, even though they kind of see that they have a connection. They got the same eye color, and apparently to Mitch, they should get married. Like, that's the reason why they should get married. I'm like, okay. But they do have a chill, easy vibe. I'm trying to read into it to see if it actually is really giving like romantic vibe or if it's just like friends with benefits type vibe. I can't really tell as of right now. To me, honestly, it looks like Liberty might be a little bit more into Mitch than he is to her, at least from what I can tell. And then also just given Mitch's track record, you can't expect him to like be fully invested in one girl because you know Mitch is all about stirring the pot, even though he claims he's not going to do that this season. But what? So Lewis is also now talking to Debbie. I think that's her name, if I remember correctly. Is it Debbie? I think it's Debbie. But they both are sitting there talking about how they're attracted to each other, and she's asking who he's feeling, and he says her. And this is where I was like, okay, the player hat is still on. He still got the player jersey. He's still in the game. Because he's sitting here saying that he's into her the most when he's in his confessionals and telling the other dudes that he's really interested in Molly. So I'm like, that's interesting. It's going to be quite interesting if he gets caught up. But they ended up playing a drink or dare game. Kaz is up first. She has to kiss the Islander she wants to share a bed with. And she goes straight for Lewis. And they have a pretty steamy little kiss going on. She got up on top of him and was giving him the business, and he liked it, and I'm pretty sure he did because she was putting the work in. Chris had to go to work on an Islander that he fancied the most, and of course it was Molly. Georgia Steele, she ended up having to make out with the Islander of her choice, which was Toby. She said that it was one of her best kisses, like one of their best kisses. And then we get a clip of Toby saying it wasn't even in his top 3. I was like, oh shit. Keep that in mind too, because we're going to talk about something later on, because that plays into it. And I was like, damn. But Harrison, she ended up yawning in the face of the most boring person, which she said was Anton. I don't disagree because I just said that. He's one of the two boring. And she said she did it because she felt like he could take it. And he ended up telling her that she needed a breath mint. And he was joking about it, but she did not take that lightly. She said, that's fucked up. But Hannah was up next. She ended up kissing Jake because that's the person that is 100% her type on paper. He was not expecting that. Took him by surprise. Anton ended up kissing Steele because that was the girl that he wished the public had coupled him up with. Jake was up next. He thinks that Mitch is there for social media attention because that's all he talks about. I don't doubt that at all. Mitch is definitely there for TV time. But Callum had to massage the Islander that he wanted to put his hands on. He wanted to get his hands on it. That was what the question was. Get the Islander that you wanted to put your hands on the most and give a great sensual massage. And he was not giving a sensual massage. There was like, Molly, have you ever gotten a massage? She looking like, no. But Mitch was up next. He had to make out with the Islander that he thinks is the sexiest. And since they're all beautiful, he had to give him a hand clap as he was going to go ahead and figure out who he wanted to go to. And he went straight to Liberty. And of course, she was excited. She was eating it up. Demi, that's her name. Demi, not Debbie. Demi, she ended up having to kiss 2 Islanders that she thinks are attracted to her. And she went straight to Chris. And they went at it. They went at it. That was a kiss with some passion. You could tell they both was feeling it. And then she went over and kissed Mitch. Georgia Steele, she ends up blowing a kiss to the biggest game player. And she chose to blow that kiss at Lewis, which is pretty accurate if you're asking me. He didn't like it. And he kind of knew she was going to do it because she's really good friends with one of his exes. And he said he didn't understand her logic, but he knew she was going to pick him. And I'm like, how do you not understand the logic then? Because that was the easiest option for her to choose, honestly. But Jake ended up going up next. He had to make out with two people that he'd like to have a threesome with, and it was Hannah and Georgia Steele. Liberty, she was up next. She had to go to the Islander. Well, she had to pretty much tell the Islander that gave her the biggest ick, and of course, it was Jake. And she said because he had like the foot fetish thing that he has. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. That's nasty. I don't like feet. I'm one person that can't stand feet. But the next one was Molly. Molly had to three-way kiss the two that she fancies the most. And that was Chris and Lewis, which was quite interesting because we was looking at Callum like, okay, how is he going to take this? Callum was pretty much telling the dudes, like, step outside of your comfort zone. And Mitch said, it's funny that you're saying that because you picked your ex. And it's like, yeah, right. Like, you telling me to step out of my comfort zone, but you went straight back to the comfort zone. But Molly ended up overhearing it, too. And she's like, if that's how you felt, like you only chose me because it was out of respect, because that's what he said. I chose her out of respect. You should have said that in the conversation. She said that's the issue. Like you lack conversation, like or not lack conversation. You lack communication, and she felt like he should have brought that up, which he probably should have. But the next thing we got, because they finished the game, Molly's pretty much talking to Liberty and Harrison about the situation with her and Jake. She feels like, not Jake. I'm sorry. She's talking about the situation with her and Callum. And she says she feels like she needs to talk to other people and he needs to talk to her about how he feels about them. Like, don't say that you're here to possibly reconcile and then you say, oh, I'm just picking her because I just want to be respectful and not make it seem like I don't want her to be alone. And it's like, in her mind, it's confusing her. Demi ends up telling Kaz that she got Chris, Mitch, and Lewis as her options, and it's down to them to figure out who likes her. She said if they're really attracted to her, they'll come and approach her. And like I said last night, that is the truth. As a man, I will go approach a woman that I want to be with. And if I'm approaching her, I really like her. And that's how most dudes are. If they don't really approach you, they ain't really feeling you. And that's what you should take it as a sign. Like, if this dude is not actively pursuing me, he don't want me. Take that as a sign. But she's right. Like, girls shouldn't be chasing men. I agree. They shouldn't. But Mitch and Liberty, they're pretty much flirting. Like I said, I feel like she's more into him than he is her. But they have a good connection, good energy going on about them. Toby and Chris are talking about how attractive Molly is. Chris didn't expect Molly to choose him. He's talking about how Callum had chosen Steele. And they're questioning if he chose Molly just for the optics and not to hurt her feelings. And that's what I agree. Like, I feel like in that moment, I was trying to figure out what his motives are, because that's the thing. Callum, his actions are not matching up with his words, which is what she said. Like, the actions got to start to match up. Like, I got to see actions, because she's been in a relationship with him for 3 years, so she knows all that talk. Like, she knows what he's about, and she wants to see him walk what he's saying. But Demi, she's talking to Callum and she's asking him, why did you choose Molly? Everybody wants to know why he chose Molly. And he said he wanted it to work out because he just wants to see what's going on because they didn't leave on bad terms. But he also didn't want her to be alone. That's why he did it. And he said, like I said, he said he would love to get back with her. And if things could be perfect, he would love to be back with her, but things are never perfect. So Demi asked him, like, did you feel a certain way watching her kissing on all these dudes? And he was trying to like play it off like, no, not really. But you could tell he low-key was not okay with that. But we get the next scene where Anton is sitting there talking about he didn't like how Steele was moving in the challenge. And he said the way that she was acting after they had their kiss, he thought, okay, I might have made some headway with her. And then she ends up getting up and going and kissing Toby. And I'm like, see, now that's where you fucked up. Yes, y'all might have a connection, but you can't expect her to cut everybody else off on day one. And my thing is with him is, if you feel like she should, you need to apply pressure and show her that you actually really want to be with her. Because if that's how you feel, you need to go show her that. And like Georgia said, she said, I ain't coming here to be loyal to nobody, at least not early. And I'm like, she don't need to. Like, you here on Love Island, it's the objective of the game is to get to know everybody. But that's pretty much what he was saying there. And Jake and Callum, they were pretty much saying, like, she's probably wasting your time and you might be wasting your own time because of the history between Georgia Steele and Toby. They already got a connection that essentially is something that could be hard to break up. And he feels like she's going back to Toby to be safe, which could be true. But Liberty's talking to Hannah, and she's saying how happy she is with her and Jake, pretty much connecting and stuff. Because Hannah was talking about how like she wasn't expecting it from him, but she's enjoying him and she wants to get to know him a little bit more. And Hannah said, if she needs advice, I'm here. Like, talk to me. Liberty really likes Mitch. She's still sitting there talking about Mitch. She says she don't want to put all her eggs in one basket, but that's essentially what she's doing. But the last thing we get, they're all getting ready for the night. Mitch says that he wants to talk to Demi and he wants to talk to Liv. And he also wants to talk to Molly. And he said that to Callum to his face. I want to talk to your ex. Like, that's just what it is. But Lewis wants to talk to Molly as well. Like I said, Molly is a high commodity. Steele is asking Molly if she would ever get back with Callum. She said never say never, but she just wants to know where his head's at. Steele is apprehensive also about Toby's age. She feels like, and it's funny because she's 25, I want to say, and he's 24, which, I mean, it's a genuine question, a genuine concern, especially considering the fact I think I'm an anomaly, because men typically do age a lot slower than women. So her being 25 and him being 24, essentially on paper, it looks like it should work because they're not that far off in terms of age. But most men at 24 are more so like 19 in the brain. So her concerns are valid. I ain't never been that way. I ain't never been that way. I've always been about probably 5 years older. That's why people always think I'm older than I am. But she's got valid concerns when it comes to his age, because she don't know if he's really interested in actually having a committed relationship. Because at that point in time, most dudes, they're just trying to go knock down whatever they can. So that's where her apprehension and concerns are when it comes to Toby. But she likes him. She's talking about how their kiss was nice. She loved the kiss. She ended up going and pulling him. And she starts talking about the kiss and told him that she liked the kiss. And Toby said he liked it too, which I thought was cap. I'm like, you sitting here capping because you literally said it wasn't even in your top 3, which was crazy to me. But we get Kaz and Lewis. They're pretty much talking about their kiss as well. Lewis said it was nice. Lewis was asking Kaz, like, what you on? Like, are you really trying to, you feeling me? Like, it is what it is. And she's like, I thought I made it pretty clear to you that I was feeling you because I literally chose you. And she right, like she did. And he said that he's like open to exploring other people, but he's not shutting her out. And I'm like, bring Kaz somebody, because she definitely don't need Lewis. Lewis got too many options. I ain't heard him mention Kaz as one of his main options, so she needs somebody in that villa that's all about her, because I don't see it with Lewis. She wants to be with Lewis, or at least she might want to entertain him in this moment, but I just don't see it. Bring her somebody, because I don't want her to go home. But Steele and Toby, they sitting down pretty much talking about how they're nervous around each other, which means they like each other, because if you're nervous around somebody, you really like them. But they're pretty much talking about the kids, like I said. She ends up asking him if he's ready for a relationship, and he says that he is ready. He said he thinks that he's a relationship person. So he said he's just not trying to date for fun. He wants to actually be with the person that he's dating. And she said the same thing, like, I'm looking for the next one, and she just doesn't want the bad to happen because she's used to that happening. So they basically say, essentially, that they're going to go for it. Like, he gives her his jacket, and they just sitting there low-key cuddling, and they ended up kissing because they was like, we happy, like, I like where we're going. They didn't make it official. We'll see. It seems like they might be the first couple that could possibly make it official. We'll see. But tomorrow, we got Molly and Chris heating it up. It looked like he was giving her a massage, and then Jake is apparently leaving. I saw something on Twitter that said that he does leave, and it looks like he is because he's sitting outside talking to Maya. So that was episode 2. There's a lot going on. I was pretty detailed. I don't think I'm gonna be as detailed unless it's super duper important to talk about going forward. But if you made it all the way through, thank you so much for watching. I hope you stay. Thumbs up the video. Drop y'all's comments down below. Let me know what y'all thought about the episode. And yeah, I will see y'all tomorrow. Crazy every day for 5 weeks. I'll see y'all.